Hey guys, Evan here from North Las Vegas Library, part of our series on our online resources. Today we're going to go over our auto repair database, Mitchell's. Now, two quick points before we get started on this one. The first is it's a somewhat specialized database. It's actually designed to be used in a mechanic shop. It's not to say the general public will not find use in it. I think there's some features that even a novice will find incredibly helpful. Just be aware that some of the features will assume a basic knowledge. Second point, somewhat related to that, because it's designed to be used in a business, the license on this one is a little limited. There is no home use on this. It must be used in library. That said, if you ever need to use it, just come on by Ask Librarian. We'll get yourself on one of the computers that can use it. All right, let's dive in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is select your vehicle, and it will prompt you when you're first on the home page here. It gives you a couple options. The VIN or plate is for businesses where they've got repeat customers stored. We're going to want to go down to the third option here, vehicle selection. Just select your make and model. Be aware, though, it will ask if all the options you've got. So if you've got the base model, the premium one, just keep that in mind. Once you've selected your vehicle, you'll notice over here to the right, there's a recall button. That'll let you know if there's been any recalls lately on the car. You can see this one looks like it had an airbag on the passenger side, recalled a few months ago. A little below that, there's some tutorial videos if you're interested in them. The modules one will give you an overview of these guys, which is kind of what we're doing right now. The search one gives you a little more on how to use the search tool. The wiring diagram one is interesting if you are interested in the wiring. The diagrams here can be a little daunting if you don't know how to read them. So take a look at that one if it's something you're interested in. So over here on the left is kind of how we're going to navigate through the page here. On the bottom, it starts with the service manual, and that's where you kind of go if you know or what you're looking for. Just want to pull up what you need here. So like you can go here, select, let's say we're looking for brakes, anti-lock brakes, and we'll look at the mechanism and function here. You can kind of pull it up, and it will show you basically what's in the service manual for the car, and you can pull up any of this, get a more detailed look, and then print it out if you'd like to. The next option down here from the bottom is the SureTrack community. This one's basically where people can post problems they've had or tips they have, and other people will respond to them. So if you want to take a look at that, you can. We don't have an account though, so you will not be able to post. The next one here is maintenance, and this one is kind of helpful. So it will show you basically what is recommended for the car based on either time or mileage on it. And let's say you go over here and you want to take a look at change your own oil. You can drop it down and it will show you how to do it basically, and what the specs are for the oil, all that kind of stuff. And then once you're done, if you needed to, how to reset any of the internal sensors in the car. So these two, quotes and estimate guide, are designed for a mechanic shop. You can play around if you want to, but they're basically just there to, for a company to make a quote or an estimate, kind of save them to give to the customers. This top one here, OneSearch Plus, is the big one. And it's kind of where you do most of your searching here. It's got, if you notice here, it's got some commonly searched components, DTCs, symptoms, and common lookup items. If you look over here, it's got a couple other things. You can go to the technical bulletins, which we were looking at earlier, commonly needed specs for the car, if you need to look up any of this stuff. The fluid capacity, so if you were filling up the oil, it would tell you how much you need, brake fluid, stuff like that. How to change the tires, where to lift them if you're doing an inspection, how to reset any of the internal sensors. The DTC index is kind of interesting if you have the tools to go on. These are the diagnostic trouble codes, and you can kind of look them up and it'll tell you what each code represents, what is wrong with the car. The wiring diagrams, again, like I said, I really do recommend, if you want to get into this, look up the how to read them. They have a tutorial on that, but that's all there if you need any of that. And of course, service manual. So let's just say my engine has been stalling. So I will do engine stall. I can kind of click it here, and it'll bring me up to the screen on this. Now you'll notice all these little boxes, there are two different bottom parts here, the OEM or the SureTrack. Now SureTrack is from this Mitchell's and its mechanics suggestions. OEM is the manufacturer's technical information. So if you go here, you can kind of select on real fixes, and it will show you what other mechanics have discovered when the engine's been stalling, what the problem is, and it'll give you kind of a number. You go to the next one, it actually kind of does it in graph form, so you can kind of take a look here and notice that if the engine's been stalling, once it gets over about 80,000 miles, the most common problem is needs to have the throttle body cleaned. But it's kind of a useful tool for that. You can go to this one, causes and fixes here too, and you can different symptoms, and it'll tell you what might be causing it depending on different symptoms here. So far we've been kind of looking at the SureTrack ones, which I mentioned earlier those are kind of like what mechanics have reported have been solutions to problems they've found. The OEM ones here are a little more in-depth, and these are the actual manufacturer's ones like we were talking about earlier. So if you go here to the OEM testing, and it will kind of give you what the manufacturer of this engine says might be causing it based on the symptoms. So if you look over here, you got a heavy dull clank, oil pressure is low. Well, it could be the crankshaft causing the issue. Then you kind of scroll through and see the various symptoms and what might be causing them. Some of the other OEM ones here are the component location, the operation, and the kind of diagrams that explain it. And these are all like just kind of in-depth look at what the part is, how it works, and the kind of schematics for it. And this can get a little in-depth, but even if you're not necessarily mechanically inclined, I think this can be kind of helpful or just interesting. Like next time you're at a mechanic shop and they're telling you got a bad crankshaft, well, you can actually go here, look up, see what the crankshaft is, what it does for the car, and kind of that stuff. So even if you're not necessarily going to fix it yourself, it might help you get a little more insider, in-depth knowledge on it here. The wiring diagram, like I was talking about earlier, is how the wiring is set up on that particular part. Like I said, if you've never read these before, I do kind of recommend watching the tutorial video on that. And here we have remove and replace, and that's how to fix the actual part. And well, the odds are we're probably not going to be fixing an engine in our own home, but let's try something we might try, serpentine belt. Maybe that's some kind of easy fix you can do at home. So you go down here, and it will actually show you all the steps, where to find it, how to actually place the part, and stuff like that. And you can print all these out like we're saying. And once you're done, it does also have the after repair information to kind of tell you how to reset the car's internal sensors if you need to do that. Last one here is parts and labor, and this one is designed for the mechanic shop. I'll pull it up here. They can, about here, they can add the labor cost. What I do find kind of interesting about this one though is it does give you the actual list price of the item in question and the part number. So if it's something you're interested in doing at home, you have the part number and kind of what it should cost according to the manufacturer here. And that's kind of been the basics here on OneSearch Plus. So it's just been kind of a quick introduction to this database. Like I said, it's kind of in-depth when there's a lot going on there, but hopefully you can see how it would be helpful if you're trying to repair your own car, or if you just want to know what the mechanic's trying to tell you next time you go in. And as always, if you have any questions, just talk to a librarian, give us a call. All right, thanks guys. Have a good one.